You are listening to Let's Talk Trio on podcasts. Keep up with the latest episodes by downloading the Podbean app or stream episodes via our social media accounts. Search for Let's Talk Trio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. This episode is sponsored by Student Access. Student Access, the leader in Trio software. Student Access is an online database solution that allows Trio programs to track their students' information, connect with students by text messages, streamline the APR, and work from anywhere, all online, with automatic updates for changes from the Department of Education. Their technical support team includes former Trio staff and has over 50 years of combined experience working with Trio. Make it easier to focus on your priority, the students. For more information and to request a free demo, visit their website at www.studentaccess.com or call them toll-free at 1-800-801-1232. That website again is www.studentaccess.com or 1-800-801-1232. Be sure to share your favorite episodes on your social media by tapping that share button. This is a great way to support the podcast. Now here's your host, Juan Rivas.
Thank you, Amelia, for that wonderful introduction. Hello, listener, and welcome to a very special episode of the Let's Talk Trio podcast. I am your host, Juan Rivas. In today's episode, we have the 2023 First Generation Day. You'll hear from the students that participated and shared a little bit of their first generation journey at Colorado State University. So coming up in just a bit, the sights and sounds of First Gen Day at Colorado State University 2023. A huge thanks to our sponsors, Angelica Villalpando, Rosario Riley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Dr. Jamie Motley, Angelica Valdez, Felicia Rivera, Jaded Electronics, TrioJoblist.com, NOSOTROS Education Center, and Student Access. And a special shout out to the Academic Advancement Center and the First Generation Student Group. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can be a sponsor of the podcast. Head on over to Patreon and search for Let's Talk Trio. Choose one of 4 patron levels. You can support this podcast for as little as $1 a month. $1 a month goes a long way in supporting this podcast. If you own a business and would like to run an ad on our podcast, send the team a message at letstalktrio@gmail.com. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast PayPal account. Our handle is @letstalktrio. Again, that handle is @letstalktrio. Any amount is truly appreciated. If you would like to nominate a participant, staff, alumni, or advocate to be on the podcast, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. Again, a great episode featuring the students that participated in the 2023 First Generation Day at Colorado State University. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode.
My name's Dalia Vargas. My major is biology, and I am a senior.
So what does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
Every time I get asked this, it's a very difficult question because it means a lot of things to me. It's a identity I hold here. It's also just like a journey to college. Just because you have to navigate everything, be the first to do stuff for your family and stuff like that. So
be the first one, and it's like an identity.
It's like an identity, also like a little badge, burden, a lot of other things.
I'm about to ask you, so what's been your experience like being at CSU, being a first-gen student?
I was fortunate to get the first-gen scholarship, so I had that community. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I got that community to help me and support me through things. So, and even with the community, it's been difficult to navigate just because there's certain things that like I want to do with my degree, and there's not a lot of resources on how to like navigate through that, and like being the first one to like graduate college as an undergrad, and then also being the first one to graduate or trying to get into like a master's program is also difficult. So
yeah, definitely. What advice do you have for first generation students that are attending not only at CSU but across campuses everywhere?
I think it's good to just like speak up when you need to, just because like I was the first, like as the first year, kept a lot of things like hidden, and also like I was so I really wanted to be independent, so I was just like, I'll do everything on my own, don't need like help from anyone. But it's really important to like go out, find communities, like get involved in things, and like have other people that can support you besides like your main group, because you don't know like what resources you might need it down the line, and other people provide different like resources, support, and like care that you might need.
Right on. And Dahlia, are there any folks that you want to thank on the podcast? Anybody that you are thinking about, like, that helped you along your journey?
My advisor, Amelia, she's not, she's currently on maternity leave, so I don't know if she'll
Shout out,
hear it.
Amelia.
And Miel, also from C4E. So.
Right on. Well, Dahlia, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
We appreciate you. You're on.
Alright, my name is Piper Vasquez. I use she, her pronouns. My major is I'm in clinical counseling psychology with a minor in ethics studies, and this is my 4th year at CSU.
4th year at CSU, so are you about to graduate?
I'm actually going to graduate fall 2024, so I'm taking that extra semester to finish up my thesis and my other stuff for my minors.
Right on. Awesome. What are you kind of looking forward to doing after you graduate?
I'm really looking forward to going to graduate school. I want to go into marriage and family counseling therapy. So I'm really excited to start that process and just help individuals and help communities with mental health and resilience.
Yeah. What does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
To be a first-generation student, I feel like a lot of people said, it's more of like a journey and like an identity. It's kind of navigating college and just life in general, being like the first in your family to do so. And I wish I could explain it better.
No, that's a great explanation.
But yeah, it's just a journey of like constantly like learning and adapting and just trying to make yourself and your family proud, I feel like.
What has been your experience being a first-gen student at Colorado State University?
My experience has kind of been very like there's been adversity and like opportunities and a lot of like I feel like privilege for me at least. Like I'm in the honors program, and like coming in my first year there weren't other like first generation students. A lot of students there, like their families like have like masters and PhDs, and so when I got here I felt kind of isolated, and I didn't really know like how to like introduce myself because I felt like a lot of imposter syndrome. But then once I like connected with the cultural centers on campus, specifically like El Centro and like the first generation organization, I felt like a deeper community that like I didn't see in the dorms. And so I feel like those opportunities have helped me a lot, and I also like met all my friends through that. It's like majority of my friends are also first generation students, so like we use each other as resources, and we're kind of like navigating this journey together. So it's just a lot of like imposter syndrome sometimes, like questioning if you can like do it or not. But I feel like CSU has a really good support system here for first generation students in their outreach. So yeah, some ups and downs, but yeah.
What advice do you have for first gen students attending CSU or at other college campuses?
My advice would be to find support systems wherever you can find them. So that can be like in the community that your college is in, on campus. If you're applying to college, make sure they have a good like cultural like and diversity understanding and programs for first generation students, because that helps a lot. Just like remember that if you're struggling, like none of like everything at college, all these systems were not made for us. Like everything going classes, study guides. So when we talk about social justice, they weren't made for first generation students. So if you're struggling, it's unfortunately a part of the process. But when you have that support system, you can get through it.
Wonderful. Piper, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
All right, you are clear. We're good.
Hi everybody, my name is Topacio Aranda. I use the She Series. I'm a program coordinator here at Off Campus Life and here at CSU. I graduated from CSU in 2020. I double majored with a degree in psychology and sociology, so College of Liberal Arts and College of Natural Sciences. So yeah, I finished in 2020 and oof, that was no small feat, I can tell you that. I was a transfer student in 2017, so 2017 was my first year here at CSU, and then it took me 5 years to finish 2 degrees, which was what it was, you know. It was
2
just,
degrees.
Oh, fair, yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it was a long time coming, and I think even like having that, you know, once I got the email from McConnell and the week before spring break of March 2020, I was like, okay, I'm ready to be done, you know. And so she sent that email, and I was like, wow, a pandemic. Okay, this is exactly how I needed to finish my time here at CSU, right, or in college in general. And so, it was difficult, but I think it was worthwhile for sure.
Wonderful.
I'll do it again.
Absolutely. What does it mean for you to be a first-gen student that completed college?
Ooh, it means a lot. My family, they're migrant workers, and my mom literally gave up a lot of her childhood literally working in the field and picking onion, and it's not far removed from me, obviously. Like, again, I'm a first-generation student, and I'm one of the very first few of the folks that in my family that's gotten a bachelor's degree, much less 2 of them. And so it means a lot. I'm always thinking about them, and, you know, I think first-generation folks in our experience, right, we can sometimes sound like a broken record, but it's easier said than done, and I'm proud of our people, and I'm proud of us for, you know, thriving and trying to just break down those generational curses, you know, just trying to do better for our folks before us and do better for the folks, you know, that are coming after us. So
absolutely,
it's a lot.
Yeah. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at Colorado State University?
You know, it's been a mixed bag. Colorado State University is certainly an excellent academic school, right? They thrive very well in academics. And obviously I'm an employee here, right? So I found some benefit of being here, right?
Right.
But there's a lot of learning that CSU needs to do in an institution, especially where we sit in northern Colorado. You know, it's hard to find folks that look like you, right? Like just navigating these main hallways here, I'm just like, where are the people that look like me, you know? And so I joined a multicultural Greek council sorority, Katie Kai, shout out, and I really appreciate them, right? It was really part of my experience, and it was tough, but you know, I again just thinking about my folks, always thinking about my folks and what my goals were here, and it's an excellent place to be, nonetheless. But nonetheless, there's a lot of, you know, learning. We can all do learning. You know, it's all part of the lifelong journey, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you did a 5-year journey at Colorado State University, being a first-gen student. Do you have any advice for upcoming first-gen students who are either attending at Colorado State University or maybe attending colleges elsewhere?
Sure. Don't be scared. Ask questions. No question is too small, too big, stupid, or dumb. Nothing is dumb in that way. Advocate for yourself, because there's a lot of people out here that just can't, you know, don't have the room to advocate for you, right? And certainly know that you always have yourself, and I. But yeah, my biggest piece of advice: ask questions, write things down, take notes. If college isn't for you, take a break. It's not the end of the world. School's always going to be here. Trade school, a gap year, those are all excellent options. And these days, it matters to make sure that you're happy, right? And you're doing things that are intentional. Because it's wild out here. Inflation.
It really is.
Eggs was $5, gas was $6 at one point. You're like, what is happening? So, you know, just try to remain positive as much as possible, but ultimately also take care of yourself. Self-care is one of the biggest things I can advocate for. Mental health is huge. And again, college is not easy, so yeah, take care of yourself.
Wonderful. Topacio, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for meeting me. Thank you so much, Juan. Have a good one.
You too.
Are you just saying I'm old? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying
No, I'm
that.
just kidding.
I'm not saying that. No.
You had Arnold Mitchum and what's her name?
Maureen Hoyler.
Maureen Hoyler?
Yeah, I had them. Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. Those are
thank
some
you.
are we gone?
Yeah, we're on now.
We're on.
So I have Sean Jasper here from the Upper Bound program here at Colorado State University.
Yeah.
Sean, thank you for being on here.
For sure.
And for being this an annual thing that you appear at least. and how do you, you were saying earlier, how do you appear on a podcast? And I was trying to justify it and say, well, your voice is, but
you need to get a little GoPro or something.
Yeah, something
so
like
that you can do the YouTube live.
That's what I'm trying to go in that direction. That would be.
There's a couple podcasts I listen to where they've got the video clips that they'll put up the highlights, you know.
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
Plaza once again.
First Gen Day 2023.
Mhm.
How did this come about? How is expectations? Kind of we're already seeing a small crowd forming.
Yeah, I mean, I think that so what we're doing. I don't know if you know that. Well, you know, you were part of AC. Now you're moved on to bigger and better things, huh?
Of CSU Online. Now.
Yeah. But we have now been all enveloped into one department, one division. It's not a division, it's a cluster, whatever it is. And so we're kind of sharing the responsibility of this day. So last year I was more part of planning. This year it's other folks, and next year it'll be new folks. So every year it's going to kind of rotate. Who takes over like the planning, and so I'm just here hanging out, supporting if I can, and seeing students. I just saw a student who is about to graduate with his degree in biomedical sciences, and he's applying to med school, and he was an upward bound in high school, and he's always wanted to come back and work for us. So I was trying to rope him in for this summer. We'll see if I get a good job or not.
That would be really great.
I know.
So for you, like seeing students that were part of the Upward Bound program going through CSU and then graduating, or even students that are outside of CSU going through college and graduating, how does that land for you? Like seeing them move on and doing
it's
these
emotional. Like this student in particular, I had all three of his sisters.
Whoa.
So his oldest sister, she was in the first class that I ever advised in Upward Bound, and now she's got 4 kids and she's working. And then his next sister, she's a teacher up in Silverthorne, and she's getting her doctorate in her PhD in education, I think. And then his next sister, she's in grad school, getting a graduate degree in Boston right now. I think at Boston University, I forget where. And then, I've got all my coworkers are former Upward Bound students. And now they've graduated and gotten master's degrees, and they're working with me now, and it's cool. It's really cool. Yeah.
So you really see kind of the evolution of students going.
Yeah, I guess it's just because I'm old.
No,
because I've been here forever. This is my 18th year with Upward Bound. So students that are graduating high school were born the year I started, which is kind of crazy.
You're leaving a lasting legacy, though. I mean, when they see you as the director, they can always come back to you and.
I mean, that's for them to decide, but it's definitely becoming my life's work for sure.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Any advice that you have for our listeners about being a first-gen student or coming up to college, or any advice that you can impart on that?
Advice. I don't know about advice. Just trust yourself, find community. Don't be afraid to ask for support. What else is advice that I would give? Maybe, you're enough. I think that there's a narrative that first-gen students have deficits, have challenges, and I disagree with that. I think that first-gen students have unique strengths that we need in higher education. So, anyway, that's what I would say.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Sean, for stopping by.
Good show.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
And we're out. Thank you.
Yeah.
Always good to have you on, Sean.
This. You put your stick figures with their arms up.
My name is Frankie Salazar.
They're excited.
Major is biochemistry, and I'm a transfer student. I'm a junior transfer student for the CSU.
All right, well, Frankie, thank you so much for being here. What does it mean to be a first-gen student to you? And I know it's freaking cold, so I'm so sorry.
But they never stand like this.
To me, honestly, first gen just means I'm trying to make my older brother proud.
All right. What does that mean to you?
Well,
It's okay.
to me, it means pretty much the world, because my brother isn't here anymore,
Sorry to hear that.
and he wanted me to go to college.
So this is kind of in memory of your brother.
It's more for me because he wanted me to go to college. He knew I was smart, and I kind of threw it away for a while.
Yeah, totally.
And then,
Tell a lot about
he tried to get me to get my shit together. He died, and then I decided I needed to get my shit together.
Yeah. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU?
Feeling lost.
Feeling lost.
Yeah, because when I transferred here, I had no idea what was going on. I was trying to acclimate to the whole situation at hand. I didn't understand what was going on around me for the first 4 weeks, and I was just confused the entire time.
Yeah.
But I mean, I got some help. People around saw I was struggling. They kind of they didn't even bother us. They just flocked and they were like, "Here, this is what you need. This is what you have to do, etc., etc." And I was like, I didn't ever really feel this in Texas. People in Texas were more of like, you're on your own.
Yeah, wow. So you felt a difference coming to Colorado State?
Very much so.
Wonderful. What advice do you have for first-gen students who are either thinking about coming to college or are in college and are trying to navigate the whole college journey?
Talk to people.
Talk to people.
Don't English. Porque me fallas. Talk to people. Don't shut yourself off. Why? Because people are willing to help you even if they don't know you. Because college is an experience for everyone. And some people have a harder time than others. And some people notice that.
That's very true. Well, Frankie, thank you so much for being on the podcast and for sharing a bit of your journey. You're out. You did great. Let me give you your stats.
So I'm Kaylee. I'm a English major in creative writing here at CSU. What else?
And you're here at CSU.
I'm here at CSU. So I just transferred here. So
right
I'm
on.
a junior, I believe. I get a little iffy about that. I'm not 100% sure what year it is anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what it means to me to be a first generation student, I guess I find it really empowering because I'm an older sibling as well, and so my younger brother, he struggles through school, and I want him to be able to see that we don't have to struggle anymore. So we can do this. We can get through anything. And so I really want to I want to do it for myself, and I want to do it for him.
Absolutely. So you're here at CSU. What has been your experience like so far as a first-gen student being at CSU?
I've really enjoyed it. I'm not a very social person, but I love the environment here. The people here are very inviting, very encouraging, very friendly. I've just found it to be a great place to get a right step in the direction, a good step in the direction that I want to go. So.
Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier about your brother and you want to be that inspiration. So what does it mean to be a first-gen student to you personally?
To me, I guess I've always watched my family have to struggle because they didn't get the opportunity to go to school and further their education. So I feel I feel honored to be able to just do this and be able to make myself better through being first generation.
What advice do you have for first-gen students who are either here at Colorado State or maybe attending college elsewhere?
Don't give up. Don't be discouraged. Just because history has proven something doesn't mean you have to repeat it.
That is very good advice. Awesome. Well, Kelly, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and we appreciate you sharing a little bit of your story.
Thank you.
You did great. Fantastic.
Alright. Hello, my name is Julia Lazaro Perez, and my major is zoology, and I am a first year.
First year at CSU. That's wonderful. Yeah. So what does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
To me, it means to be sorry.
No, yeah. I'm gonna edit this. No worries.
Experience and be able to guide my family through this new experience as well as myself. Yeah. Just because being the older sibling, it's a little bit difficult to do it at the same time, but also very exciting, I think. And being the first one to do this is really exciting for me as well. And being able to help my brother in the future as well is also what's making me really exciting.
Yeah. So being the oldest in the family really means like they're looking to you to kind of do the trailblazing. They want you to succeed. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU? This is your first year. Do you feel like there's a lot of resources and support?
I do feel like there's enough resources to support. It's been ever since the beginning. They were like, oh, college is going to be so much different than high school, which I completely agree. I just thought it was going to be something a little bit more harder than I had thought, and having all these resources at CSU has really made it so much easier as a first year here in college. I mean, I've struggled, but like, struggle is normal, right?
You have to, being the first one, right? You're going to experience some challenges, some setbacks, but so long as you persevere.
Yeah, and as long as I have the resources, I think I'm okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Agreed. What advice do you have for first generation students that are either attending college here at CSU or maybe going to college elsewhere?
I think to just go for it. Because I had no idea what I was doing. When I first started with college applications and scholarship applications, and then coming to Colorado, moving from home. I'm from New Mexico.
Oh, you're from New Mexico?
Yeah.
Me too.
Really?
I was from New Mexico too. Yes.
God. Santa Fe.
Santa Fe, Clovis.
Oh, yes. And so, I mean, it's not far, but just jumping into it, I think, is what makes you grow as a person as well, and experimenting and finding new ways to succeed, I think, is what helps you thrive.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Well, Julia, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you sharing your story.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll stamp you for your thing.
Okay.
You did great.
My name is Angelica Montes. I am doing business administration with marketing, and I am a second year at the moment.
A second year at CSU. How has your experience been like so far?
I really like the campus. Everyone's welcoming. Like, I just feel like everyone has their arms open to me instead of like other colleges that I visited. They kind of just felt more closed off. While this one was like welcoming. I feel great here. I feel valued.
That's awesome. I love that. What does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
To me, it means that I'm able to succeed in something that my previous families weren't able to. I'm able to live their dreams. As my parents, they weren't able to get a higher education just because of financial reasons. I'm able to live out their dream as well as mine, and I have them supporting me every day. I get messages every day telling me, you're doing great, you got this, and I just feel like I'm part of a community that really just comes together and is really supporting each other.
Wonderful. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU?
Coming from like knowing nothing, I feel like just these communities just really helped me go through this process easily. I had resources, I had people reaching out, willing to help me process everything. And I feel like at this point, I'm able to help my siblings now just succeed, as well as like not having to go through the struggle of having no resources. Now I'm able to be a resource and an example.
That's wonderful. Final question for you. Advice that you have for first-gen students that are either attending Colorado State or maybe attending college elsewhere?
Just keep going.
Keep going.
Like, even though we're struggling, like there's midterms, there's essays, just keep pushing through. Like at the end of the day, you're doing something you want, something you like, just do it.
Wonderful.
Don't let anyone stop you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. You did great. That was awesome.
I feel like I repeated a lot.
No. You did great.
Everything Tuesday, Thursday night, Friday. Cool. So my name's Karina Pekosh. I am a third-year student here at CSU as a zoology major.
Right on. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by on the podcast. What does it mean to be a first-generation student to you?
Yeah, so for my family, both my parents did not attend college. One of my sisters, I am the youngest, one of my older sisters didn't go as well. So me and my oldest sister are actually the first of our family to go into college. My sister is now a nurse, and just for my family, it's kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say a pride thing, just because my parents have great jobs, love their life, are very happy, but they're definitely prideful that they have a daughter in college that, you know, something they didn't do themselves, I would say.
That's wonderful. So for you, what has been your experience being a first-gen student at Colorado State University?
So I am out of state. I'm not from here. I guess my main struggles with being a first-gen student are just getting around and figuring things out, you know. Sometimes I'll call my parents and I'll be like, hey, this just happened, you know, this is what's happening with billing or something like that, and they don't always have answers. So it's a lot of reaching out and finding people that have the answers for me, I guess.
Absolutely. What advice do you have for first-gen students that might be attending Colorado State or college elsewhere?
I would definitely say just in general, like I just said, asking for help is the biggest thing. A lot of people are like, okay, you know, push through and you'll figure it out. Sometimes it's hard to figure it out, and I definitely say asking for help has been my biggest aid coming through college.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Awesome.
Hi, my name is Gabby Goldberg. I am a junior here at CSU. Am I missing something?
What's your major?
Oh, zoology.
Zoology, right
Yes.
on. So what does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
It means to me, I think it's a stepping stone that other people have not gone to before. So it I kind of feel like a pioneer in my own life and in my own way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So definitely being that trailblazer. What has been your experience being a first-generation student at Colorado State University?
It's been good. I think the community is really good here. I think that there's when it comes to diversity and you know, when you're a part of a small community like this, we really band together and find each other and help each other through it, which I think is really important.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think is the best part.
What advice do you have for first-gen students who are attending CSU or going to college elsewhere?
Like she said, in general, I think that again, finding your community, reaching out, even just going on that college's website and finding out the clubs, finding out the offices, finding out anything you can, because there's a lot of opportunities you can be given, scholarship-wise, community-wise, just a lot of things that you're unaware of, and just putting yourself out there.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for stopping by the podcast.
Of course.
Appreciate
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Katie. I'm a junior, and I am majoring in political science and sociology, the minor in legal studies.
Wow. What are you hoping to do with that degree?
Well, I'm originally from Houston, and so I'm really hoping to go back home.
Okay.
And work. I want to try to get a master's in public administration, and I want to go back home and work in my community and try to bring in resources. I want to work with nonprofits and do a lot of advocacy, because things in Texas aren't great, and they haven't been great for ever.
Mm-hmm.
So if I can work in that area, those places you always want to get out of, you know, advocate for them and bring in the resources and the knowledge that I have, and I don't know.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What does it mean to be a first-generation student to you?
I think it means breaking down barriers in my family. I think of my cousins and my younger sister. And I know they look up to me, and my aunts and uncles look up to me, which is weird to think about because I'm used to they're the adults in my family, and looking to them for guidance, but knowing that they look to me as well now that I'm here. It feels like being a first generation, it feels like a lot of responsibility, but also really exciting to give my generation and my family more of a feeling that they have options, even that they can do what they want to do. And if they don't want to go to college, it's okay, but knowing that is another option there for them.
Absolutely. I think it's important to be a trailblazer and to open up that path, right? To let them know it's an option. Awesome. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU?
At first it was hard.
Yeah.
Obviously, but like figuring out lots of like little things and like like what a syllabus is and like what even are office hours.
Right.
I remember in my senior year, people were like, "Oh my gosh, biggest tip: go to your professor's office hours the first week." And I just remember sitting there like, "Okay, like is that a building? Is that like I don't know what that means."
Yeah.
Like really little things like that, figuring out like even how like what work study is. Like I remember even teachers in high school trying to explain like here's what a scholarship is, here's what a grant is, here are what loans and like work study, and like I didn't really get it because I don't know, I felt like the way that they were explaining it, like for them it was like, oh, this is a review for you, and it wasn't really like super specific. And so I remember coming in here like not really, or like putting in my application not really knowing any of that stuff and like trying to navigate a lot of the resources here. It was really hard, and like knowing even what I was able to do and what opportunities were available for me. It's just like little things that I feel like they might seem really inconsequential, but like really shape the experiences that you have. I remember feeling really overwhelmed with that. But I think something that helped a lot was having other friends who were first gen and feeling like the like insecurities that I had and like the lack of knowledge that I was coming into CSU with were okay. Like it wasn't anything to be ashamed of, because there were other people who were feeling that too, and really trying to lean on the people who were there to support me and like actually take advantage of that, because there are a lot of areas in my life that you're not going to get that kind of support, but this is one of those. And so like to miss out on that, I think made my experience really difficult, and I definitely wouldn't have stayed here. So yeah.
In that same vein, what advice do you have for first-gen students that are here at CSU or maybe attending college elsewhere?
Oh my gosh, like find a community for yourself, and if you can't find one, build one. Like that's so much easier said than done. But it's
I hear
so
that.
true. Yeah, like if I was here on my own trying to navigate everything, I like seriously, I would have left. It was way too much for me to carry on my own and try to figure out and navigate on my own. But building a community for myself where I knew I belonged, and I knew that like, I had a right to get a higher education if I wanted it, and I wanted it. And
yeah.
I think that was really that changed everything for me. Finding people who could support me, and then also being a source of support for other people, making that kind of like interconnected community where I know that if I'm not in that space, it's gonna mean something, and that like I do have a presence on this campus, and that is significant. Like that's not nothing, and trying to find a place, and then also like using the resources that are there. There are lots of like financial support resources that are so helpful, because money is so hard.
Absolutely.
And there's lots of other resources that like someone like I didn't know what a CV was. Like there were people who could help me figure that out so that I could apply for jobs and get work, and just like little things. If there's something that a research, if there's something in a particular like group or organization or anything like that that's offering a resource to you, take it, exhaust your resources. I remember one of my advisors told me that my first semester is like, don't just use your resources, like exhaust them. They're there for you, and so use them as much as you can. And like that, I don't know, I try to do that all the time, and I recommend it a lot. Build community and exhaust the resources.
Exhaust the resources. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
And
Okay, my name's Darian. I'm a senior, and I'm a social work major.
Wow. Can you tell me, what does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
Yeah, I think for me, it means just really changing the trajectory of my family's, like, lives, because it's setting a new precedence and kind of trailblazing a different path than what we've had in the past.
Right on. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at Colorado State University?
Here at CSU has been really incredible. I think it's a very welcoming campus that is really dedicated to helping their students succeed.
Right on. Any advice that you have for first-gen students who are attending CSU or maybe attending college elsewhere?
I would say do it even though you're scared. Like, it sucks, but it's not going to be as hard as you are making it out to be in your head. And I know it feels really scary because you don't have that framework, but there's so many people who are doing it for the first time with you.
Wonderful. Darian, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
You're
My name is Mars. I am a first-year sociology major.
Right on. Well, welcome to the podcast. What does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
For me, being a first-gen student just means having someone to look up to academically, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And since I don't really have anyone in my family or like my immediate life, I decided to just kind of be that person for myself.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at Colorado State University?
I've actually been very pleasantly surprised with how much there is available for students.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually my first semester as well. So I've had a very good time just like getting used to how college works.
Mm-hmm.
And with all of the resources that CSU has, it's made it a lot easier.
Wonderful. What advice do you have for first-gen students who are attending CSU or maybe attending college elsewhere?
I would say don't be afraid to put yourself out there, even if it's like the scariest thing you could think of ever doing in your life. It will pay off eventually, and it'll actually sometimes surprise you, and you'll be a lot happier.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Hey there. We'll be right back after a message from our sponsor.
Are you seeking guidance to enhance your TRIO project's effectiveness and success? Look no further. NOSOTROS Education Center, NEC, is here to empower your TRIO project with expert consulting services. NEC's mission is to promote the effectiveness and impact of TRIO programs. Since 2003, NEC has specialized in providing professional development and in-service staff trainings, allowable cost services, for TRIO projects across the country. The team at NEC, with over 60 years of combined TRIO experience, offers customized workshops and seminars for project staff, compliance assessments, external evaluations, working on and submitting APRs, database customization and training, development of policies and procedures manuals, and project implementation or reorganization services. Additionally, NEC has secured over $774 million in federal funding with a 92% success rate through their live and on-demand proposal workshops, assistance with data collection and review, detailed technical reviews, and comprehensive proposal development services. Join the hundreds of colleges, agencies, and TRIO projects across the country who benefited from NEC's expertise. NOSOTROS Education Center, your partner in TRIO's project success. Visit their website at nosotros.edu.org. Again, that's nosotros.edu.org.
And now, back to the podcast.
Okay, hi, my name is Cindy, and I am a senior studying economics.
So you are a senior, and are you about to graduate in the spring, the fall?
I'm graduating in the spring.
Wow. How does that feel for you, being a first-gen student about to graduate?
It feels really empowering.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really know what I'm doing next. I'm thinking about going into business or getting an MBA.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
And
will it be here at CSU or somewhere else?
I hope it's here at CSU.
Right on.
And just because I don't really know where to get the funding yet, but I've just been looking around, and I don't know. I think it's such a powerful feeling just to be first to graduate.
Absolutely.
in my family, because it's just me and my mom. So
that's wonderful. Well, congratulations, Cindy. What does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
It means to be like a pioneer, just to be like the first to start new beginnings for my family, or to create a legacy.
That's awesome. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at Colorado State?
It started off really it was hard to find my community, just because I started off in COVID. We were all in quarantine, sitting 6 feet away from each other. And I started off in engineering, so it was very like homogenous and difficult to find like people who related with me. But I ended up switching to economics and found a lot more community in that, and found a lot of friends, and it's been great having my own kind of community or curating my own community, and it's just been a lot of learning how to open myself up to new opportunities.
That's wonderful. Cindy, what advice do you have for first-gen students that are attending Colorado State or maybe going to college elsewhere?
I recommend to just try to make as many friends as possible, or even go to trio events. Because with the AAC, I know I got into it more when I applied for the study abroad in Morocco.
Oh, right on. Yeah.
And that's how I made a lot of my friends. And I think they just offer so many like different, just cool traveling opportunities. And that's how I've like expanded my network. Most of my friends are from the AAC.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I thought that was really cool, just being part of trio all the way from like high school. I've just had friends from high school in trio, and now I'm in college with friends in trio. It's just been, I don't know, I'm so thankful for the program too.
Yeah. Well, Cindy, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and we appreciate you, and good luck on your journey.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful to be on this podcast with you, Juan. My name is Ryan Barone. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I serve at CSU as the Assistant Vice President for Student Success, where I work on student success initiatives, including, of course, working to close opportunity gaps for racially minoritized, first-generation, and limited income students.
Right on.
I grew up just outside of Buffalo, New York, in a relatively small town. Obviously, I'm first-gen myself, and stumbled into higher education by accident, and so I never stepped foot on a college campus until I actually went to move into the residence halls, but I did at the State University of New York College at Fredonia. So I went to SUNY Fredonia for undergrad, and got a work-study job on campus, and that really got me connected to a campus community, and since then I've never left, and I've been at a college or university ever since.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you also obtained your PhD as well, right? Your role here at CSU, you've seen first-gen initiatives expand. What is kind of some hopes and some vision, future things that you hope for first-generation initiatives?
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually, Juan, just had the privilege of presenting to the President's Cabinet right before coming over here, and it was on first-generation work. And one of the things that I shared with the President and with the college and university leadership is that I think to continue to evolve our first-gen work, we must do it from an intersectional lens. Mm-hmm. What we know is that most first-generation students are also limited income, are also rural, are also racially minoritized. And so I think instead of essentializing the population, I think really leaning into the nuances of identity and doing the work from a universal design perspective is what I hope will continue to evolve the first generation work on this campus. Yeah. I also hope that we can celebrate, and I think this First Gen Day that you and I are sitting at today helps celebrate faculty and staff to recognize that we're connected to our undergraduate and our graduate stories as well. And as a wise person, Marianne Lucero, said recently, we're First Gen every time we get a new job. We're First Gen every time we do something new in life. It's a First Gen experience, and so recognizing that I think will be an important part of moving the work forward.
Wonderful. What has been your experience being a first-gen student in college?
Yeah, I mean, I think back to, so I mentioned how the first time I was on campus was when I moved into the residence hall. I was actually on campus for an hour before then at my orientation. So I think my first gen story is in part informed by being raised by a mother who was a teen mom, so she had me really young. Mm-hmm. And when I went to summer orientation to go to SUNY Fredonia, they put the students in one area and the parents in another area. And my mom went to the family orientation, the parent orientation, and they said, "Oh no, you're in the wrong space." She looked too young. They assumed she was a student, and so they were kind of rude to her, and she got really upset. We're from New York, and we kind of have short tempers, and so my mom walked over to the student section and pulled me out of the first row and said, "We're leaving." And so I was at my orientation for just an hour, and then we left and didn't have that same kind of experience. And so I think my first gen experience and story as an undergrad was certainly marked, like most of us, around firsts around managing systems that were really complicated. I'm really grateful that I had strong family support. So even though they hadn't had the same experience getting a bachelor's degree that I was working towards, they were around to help me kind of triage and stay engaged. And then when I reflect back, all my friends were first gen as well. So I think there was a really strong peer component where we were figuring things out together and sharing information as well as undergrads.
Wonderful. So we are celebrating National First Gen Day. What advice do you have for first generation students that are at Colorado State or may not be at Colorado State, maybe attending college elsewhere?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think first is to recognize your assets. So I think sometimes we think about and talk about first generation as a deficit. And while it's true that I think we've got barriers that are in front of us, I think we've got many more assets that can allow us to be even more successful at colleges and universities. And so recognizing the wisdom that comes from our families, from our life stories, perhaps from the challenges that we've helped work through with families and with communities, I think that there's strong wisdom and gifts that come from that experience. I would also certainly say I think that there's massive strength in asking for help. This is hard. This is hard for many of us. This is hard for me. But I think recognizing that asking for help is important. You know, I did things when I was in college because I was paying for it all on my own. I figured out exactly how much money I was paying in student fees or how much money I was paying for every class that I went to, and that motivated me to go to class. I didn't want to waste $120 by not going to class because I paid for that already, and I didn't want to waste my student fees by not going to the rec center, by not going to mental health and counseling, by not going to clubs and organizations. So that recognizing that you can ask, but also you're entitled to get supported services from the institutions that have admitted you. That's hard, I think, for some of us who are first gen, but doing that and engaging from that kind of recognition that you are entitled to be well served, I think is an important component.
Wonderful. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm Alex Rodenbeck, and I am a biology major at CSU.
And what year are you here at CSU?
I'm a junior.
You're a junior, right on. So what does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
It's actually pretty cool because neither of my parents went to college, and my older sister didn't go to college, so I'm like the first one.
Trailblazer.
And yeah, my brothers are now following in my footsteps, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, my little brother's here. He's a freshman, so it's pretty cool.
That's amazing. So you've already set them up kind of like the path of success.
I hope so, yeah.
What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU?
Well, it's been really interesting. So there's a lot of like new. So it's kind of tricky to navigate, but it's been really cool, and it's like just been a great experience so far, I'd say.
Absolutely. What advice do you have for first-generation students attending Colorado State, or maybe that are attending college elsewhere?
Yeah, I think the main thing is just to get out there and meet people. That's the biggest thing. Just introduce yourself, be friendly, and just meet some cool people.
Right on.
That's the best
Some
part.
Great advice. Well, thank you so much for stopping by the
Yeah,
podcast.
thank you.
I appreciate you sharing a little bit of your story.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks. I appreciate it.
I'm Vivian Solis. I'm in my third year at CSU, and I'm a mechanical engineer.
Right on. What does it mean to be a first-generation student to you?
Honestly, it's just a bunch of like kind of struggles at first.
Struggles at first, okay.
But I think it's just kind of stepping out of what like your parents did and their parents did, and like doing something new that can like really change your future and like future generations.
Absolutely. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU?
Well, at first it was really isolating because not a lot of people that I met, especially in engineering, were first gen. So it was really hard for me to like step out and actually like meet people because I felt like they weren't like me. But I was in a program called the AAC, Academic Achievement Center, and like I've met a bunch of people who are like me, and like it's not as lonely anymore. But even then, like my friends like have never seen me differently because I'm first gen. I struggle a little more, and it like is definitely hard because I can't go to my parents for this stuff. They didn't even finish high school, and they never thought about college like that. So it's definitely hard, but I have the support from my friends from the AAC. So it's been better.
Wonderful. What advice do you have for first-generation students that are attending CSU or maybe going to college elsewhere?
Join the AAC. They
Join
do.
the AAC.
They do give a lot of like help and support for first generation students. For advice, you are here for a reason, and like I have a sister who's also currently at CSU right now, and I think I definitely encouraged her. So like this is for like the better of your future, for future generations, even siblings that you may have. Like this is good, and it's gonna be hard, but it will hopefully pay off in the future.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
So my name is Anaya. I'm a first year and my major is animal science.
Animal science, right on. What are you hoping to do with the degree after you graduate?
So I'm originally from Kauai, an island in Hawaii. So everything was pretty limited there, especially with like veterinarians and animal clinics. So I was hoping to like go back home and open up my own clinic and probably just help out the community a bit more.
Right on. What does it mean to be a first generation student to you?
So to me, being a first generation student is very important because I was able to like break a trend for my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like they never had the opportunity to go to school just because like they didn't want to. Like my dad didn't want to go to school and my mom's family just couldn't afford it. So then they made sure that I could have a future that like they didn't have. So they're pretty much like living through me going to college. Awesome. So they like take it really seriously. So I feel like it's important that I take it even more seriously than them.
What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU?
It's been great actually. I really like all of the opportunities that I can find, like doing other internships, finding jobs, and then this school has a priority over first-gen students, like with the scholarships, so I think that's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Any advice that you have for first-generation students that are attending Colorado State or maybe going to college elsewhere?
Yeah, so I would say just like stay motivated, remember like where you came from, like why you're doing this. Like if you're doing this for your parents, then keep doing it for them. If you're doing it for yourself, then even more so, keep pushing. And yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Michael. Computer science major. It's my first year at CSU. It's my second year of college because I took a first year at a community college back in my hometown. What was the question?
Sorry, computer science major.
Yeah, computer science.
What are you hoping to do after you graduate?
Hopefully I can get a good job, like a good remote job, so I could just work from home and try to travel after school. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. What does it mean to be a first generation student to you?
First generation? Actually, I think it's pretty crazy because like no one I know have been to college. Like no one, none of my family, none of my friends.
So you're the really first one to go to college.
Like, wow. I have no idea what I'm doing, so I'm just like asking everyone for help. So it's been an experience for sure. Just trying to get connected with people. Damn, it's cold.
Yeah, it's kind of cold out here. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU? Do you feel like you've gotten a lot of support?
Oh yeah, for sure. I've gotten connected with groups that have been helping me with the process because there's a lot that you need to do. Like
definitely,
for sure. I don't know.
And what advice do you have for first-generation students who are attending CSU or maybe going to college elsewhere?
Some advice. You gotta do some advice for like past me. You gotta try in high school. I did not try in high school at all, so I had to like relearn some things that I need to learn. Dang, I'm so cold. I know you're thinking straight.
I'm so sorry.
For other first generation, just get connected with other people. It's just, man, I don't know.
Yeah. No, wonderful. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Hi everyone, my name is Emeline Morales. I use pronouns she, her, ella. I am a fourth year right now and I'm majoring in health and exercise science with the sports medicine concentration.
Right on. So health and exercise science, what are you hoping to do with your degree after you graduate?
After I graduate, the plan is to attend some sort of like post-grad like school. So I was thinking of doing like pursuing my master's in PA studies. Obviously with grad school there's a lot to think of, so I do plan on taking a gap year or two just to get my feet wet in my field in sports medicine, whether that be getting an internship or even just like a job related to my field, get that experience and hopefully prepare myself and take the next step and apply to PA school and be the first practicing like of a PA in my family.
That is awesome. What does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
To me, being a first-gen student, honestly, I would say is like overcoming like any obstacles and doubts. I feel like with being a first-gen student, a lot of people seem to like doubt what you can do just because you've never been exposed to like higher education. So people always think like you're not gonna make it, or there's gonna be challenges for you. But to me, it's just like there's a lot of people out there that are not gonna like agree with my with what I want to do or with different like choices, but just like learning to overcome them, learning just to persevere during these like hard, difficult times. I definitely say that to me that means.
All right. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU?
Honestly, it's been difficult. So I came in in that like COVID peak, so that August 2020.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of unknowns up in the air, and I feel like with starting college in a pandemic and being a first-gen student put a little bit more pressure on me. Mm-hmm. There's the way school was structured back then is very different than it is now, and even to this day I feel like we're still constantly changing the way like things are based on what's going on. But I feel like having the support that I have here has been really like helpful. Mm-hmm. Honestly, you have those people that want the best for you. They're watching out for you, making sure you accomplish your goals. So overall, despite it being very difficult, I do have a really big support system here that I really appreciate, and even a support system back at home. I feel like more than anything, my parents are like my biggest motivation, and I know I can always go back to them. They're out here like always just telling me échale ganas, mija, this and this, and it's just those little words that mean a lot more to you, and they help you keep going regardless of what's going on and what's just been being thrown at you.
Wonderful. Do you have any advice for first-generation students attending CSU or maybe going to college elsewhere?
Yeah, I would say, just keep going. It is difficult, but something my parents always told me, si fuera fácil, todos aquí estuviéramos estudiando. And no todos estamos aquí because it is difficult, Right, and I feel like it is. I feel like with that, you should just keep going and find your support system, find the people that want the best of, that want the best of you, that want you to have a good future, to have a good career, and work to overcome those obstacles. Go out there, break barriers. At the end of the day, I feel like doing so is gonna say a lot more about you. Mm-hmm. And it's just honestly, yeah, it's just I feel like it's such a rewarding feeling, just being able to do things people thought you couldn't do, and you're out here now, almost about to graduate, in my case, you know. So it's just amazing. It's really, I don't know, it's just really nice. So I would definitely just say, yeah, keep working, and regardless of it being hard, at the end of the day, the storm is gonna pass and the sunshine's gonna shine.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for stopping by the podcast and sharing a little bit of your story.
Thank you.
I'm Akira Williams. I'm majoring in mechanical engineering, and I'm a first-gen student.
All right. What does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
Well, for me, it's being able to make my family proud for something they weren't able to do, regardless of whatever the circumstances were.
What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU?
It's definitely been a process adjusting to being at CSU. I did do enrollment in high school, but even then, it's still a big adjustment between that and being here.
What advice do you have for first-generation students that are attending Colorado State or maybe going to college elsewhere?
I'd say to take some time to look into what the school resources are beforehand. I know for my case, I have friends who came to CSU before me, and so they could tell me like, oh, there's this center, or there's counselors or whoever, but just like knowing what the resources are and where they're at is a large campus.
Absolutely. What do you hope to do with your degree after you graduate?
I'm hoping to work in like research for renewable energy or manufacturing for machinery that works towards that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
My name is Camilla. I'm a Human Development and Family Studies major, and I'm a first year.
So our first year at CSU, how has your experience been like at CSU so far?
It's been a little nerve-wracking because I feel like a lot of pressure, a lot of like family and just like, you know, like expectations, and just like comparing myself to like, you know, other people that have had like help from, you know, their family members or things like that.
Yeah. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU? How's that been like?
I feel supported, especially because in my like major, there's a lot of like first-gen faculty, and I feel like that's been like a little bit comforting, like seeing like where they are at now, and you know, knowing that you know I could be in that place.
What does it mean to be a first-gen student to you personally?
It's something that it's like very like makes me proud, but at the same time, it is a little nerve-wracking because I know like a lot of people are looking at me, like my family and things like that, like wishing that I succeed, and just you know, it's a lot of pressure, but at the end of the day, I know that it's like an identity that like I hold proud.
What advice do you have for first-generation students attending CSU or attending college elsewhere?
I would say just take advantage of like the people here. You know, like reach out to them, and like they're like here for you, and a lot of them aren't as intimidating as they seem.
Well, great advice. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Avery. I'm a first year here at CSU, and my major is Human Development and Family Studies.
So HDFS, what are you hoping to do with your degree?
Well, I'm pursuing a pre-health concentration, so I hope to get into PA school, preferably the CU Anschutz PA school, and become a physician assistant for here in Northern Colorado.
Right on. What does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
To me, being a first-gen student is just like taking an opportunity that like my family and those before me didn't get to have. To me, like education is power, and so the fact that I get to have higher education is just so empowering to me because I get to share that knowledge with like my family and those around me, and hopes to better my future and like strive for my goals. So it's just making my family proud is what keeps me going like every day.
Wonderful. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU?
So far, my experience has been really great. I went into the bridge program over the summer, so that was just particularly for first-gen students. So they really created a community for us going into my first year. So because of bridge and also just the environment here at CSU, they're super welcoming, and there's so many resources out there. So I definitely feel supported, and especially by my family too. So my experience has been really well.
Wonderful. What advice do you have for first-generation students attending Colorado State or maybe going to college elsewhere?
I would say just keep going, and it's hard because there are resources, but like you're kind of experiences firsthand, like yourself. But don't be afraid to ask for help. Like sometimes asking for help may seem like a weakness, but it's actually a strength. Like to be able to understand like you need those around you, and that's okay because people work better together. So I'd say like don't be afraid to ask for help and reach out if you need help, because we're all going through the same thing. So like you're not alone.
That is some great advice. Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ashton Barone. I'm a second year. I'm majoring in zoology, and I have a minor zoology with the pre-vet track, and I have a minor in business
Right on. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. What does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
So I'm Native American, and like with resident schools and all the other crazy stuff, and like it's just very sad because I'm the first person out of my entire family on both my dad and my mom's side to ever graduate high school. And like sometimes I forget like that's a big accomplishment. So when I did graduate high school, like it was like kind of phenomenal for me to like let alone go to a university and go to college, because like no one's left like the reservations, and it's just like very difficult. So like when I think about it, I sometimes get sad and like I do tear up, because like a lot of people, like I sacrificed a lot just to go to school. Yeah.
What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU?
It's been really, really, really hard. Like I cannot express how hard it has been. Like I'm going through a lot, and like there's a lot of stuff that you do not know as like you're going into like college and university. So like when I first started, like I didn't know how to register for classes, but I did come in with credits. So like I had a small idea of how to register for classes. There's just a lot of small things that you don't know that you need until like you're out there trying to use them and you don't even know how to use them. And like I'm kind of glad that there's like the resources on campus, like the SCPS offices. They saved me so much because like I didn't know what I was doing. And it kind of sucked because like, it's just like you're going into the dark. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what's gonna happen. So it's just been difficult, but I got my stuff together. I'm sort of understanding what's going on. So
good.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for first generation students that are attending Colorado State or maybe going to college elsewhere?
Don't be scared. It is very intimidating. Like you're sacrificing so much, but like you need this for yourself.
Absolutely.
You really do need to like keep going and keep pushing, because a lot of people, you know, or where you're from that don't go to school, don't have that opportunity. And if you have that opportunity, seize it, because it could very much change your life. My life has been so different in the last 2 years. Like I'm doing so much, and I never thought I would be doing a lot of stuff on campus, and it's been very amazing because I'm changing my life and I'm changing other people's lives.
That's very true. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We appreciate you sharing your story.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ajane Hopkins. Pronouns are she, her, hers. I serve as the program coordinator in the Office of Fraternity and Sorority Life. I am a CSU alum. I graduated in May of 2020 with my Bachelor of Arts in Communication Studies and a Film Studies minor.
Well, congratulations, and thank you so much for being on the podcast. It's wonderful always to have a CSU staff member on here. What does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
Being first-gen means being empowered, supported, and ultimately just guided throughout not only your college experience, but I think all things first gen.
Absolutely. And navigating the spaces at CSU, being a first gen professional, what type of experience have you had with that?
So I tell myself to remember that I'm always first gen, no matter what, because that feeling never goes away. So just reminding myself that it's okay to still ask questions and to share that I am first gen. That's an identity I was once kind of ashamed to have because I didn't like not knowing what I didn't know. And since being at CSU as a student and transitioning into professional, I've learned that it's okay. I'm proud to be a first gen RAM, and then also navigating those spaces, letting others know that there are other students around who have my same identity, who are wondering, looking for supports, and ready to ask questions. They just need someone to prompt them.
Absolutely. What advice do you have for first generation students attending Colorado State or going to another college?
My advice is to go out there, be involved, make connections. Show your pride and show your support in being first gen. You are here for yourself first and foremost. So though you are carrying a lot, guided by your family, just know this is ultimately for you too.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast and sharing a little bit of your story.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Guadalupe, and I am a Year Zero vet student. so I'm in vet school.
Right on.
And what was it?
And so you're vet school. So no, you covered all the questions. So what does it mean to be a first-generation student to you?
To be a first-generation student means that I am breaking cultural barriers, but also creating a path. Mm-hmm. And not only am I first gen, but I am the first in my family to go to college, so I have younger siblings, and I feel like the guidance that I lacked, I can provide for them. So that's what it means for me, is to create a path for my family as well.
What has been your personal experience being a first-gen student at CSU?
And so far, it's been really well. I think initially, coming from California, it was a very different environment, and it took a while for me to find a community. But so far, it's been good.
Right on.
Hi, I'm Aiden Fisher. I go to CSU and I'm an environmental horticulture student.
Right on. What are you hoping to do with your degree in environmental horticulture?
Right now I'm not entirely sure what I want to do. I don't know. I just know I love plants a lot.
Right on. What does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
Well, to me, I feel like it's pretty inspirational because, like, I'm, I guess, the first one from my parents to go to college, so I just feel like it's pretty cool.
What has been your experience being a first-generation student at CSU?
There's a lot of opportunities that, like, I guess people, their events and stuff, especially like today. It's pretty nice.
Right on. What advice do you have for first-gen students attending Colorado State or maybe going to college elsewhere?
I guess just don't, like, worry about, like, too much about, like, being left out on things. Mm-hmm. Or I guess that's what we do there. Yeah.
Wonderful. No, that's some great advice. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
You're welcome.
My name's Skylar Steven. I'm a biomedical engineering major with chemical biological engineering here at CSU. And what else?
Yeah, what year are you?
I'm a freshman.
Freshman, wow.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to apply to CSU?
They have a really good engineering program and a lot of support for engineers wanting to go into research more than just industry themselves. So,
what does it mean to be a first-gen student to you?
It means to kind of show your family that you can do it in a way, like breaking kind of that pattern of not really pursuing higher education and doing something that you're actually going to enjoy.
Right on. What has been your experience being a first-gen student at CSU?
Very supportive. Everyone's kind of there to help you succeed more than anything else, and that they understand that your family can't really help that much because they don't understand what you've been through to do a degree in the first place.
Yeah.
So just having that extra support has been very helpful.
What advice do you have for first-generation students that are attending Colorado State or maybe going to college elsewhere?
To find that support system, it helps a lot, especially because, again, your parents can't really help too much because they don't know what you're going through. So finding programs or just friends that understand that you don't have that support system necessarily back home in the same way that they do.
Right. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. So this episode...
Are you a participant, alum, or staff of a TRIO program? Do you want your program highlighted? You or your program could be featured in an upcoming episode of Let's Talk TRIO. Get a hold of us by going to our Facebook page or Instagram and send us a direct message. Search for Let's Talk TRIO. We want to get your story to the public.
You heard from our guests, various students from Colorado State University celebrating First Gen Day 2023. Thank you all so much for being on the podcast and for sharing your First Gen story. Remember, if you would like to be on the Let's Talk TRIO podcast or know a staff, advocate, participant, or alumni, send us an email at letstalktrio@gmail.com. That email again is letstalktrio@gmail.com. A huge thanks to our sponsors, Angelica Villalpando, Dr. Jamie Motley, Dr. Ryan Barone, Angelica Valdez, Rosario Riley, Felicia Rivera, TrioJoblist.com, Jaded Electronics, NOSOTROS Education Center, and student access. A special shout out to the Academic Advancement Center and the First Generation Student Group. Thank you all so much for your continued support of this podcast. You too can be a sponsor of Let's Talk Trio podcast in one of three ways. Become a monthly patron on Patreon. Our base patron level starts at $1 a month. Become a corporate sponsor by placing an ad on the podcast. Email the team for details. Become a supporter with a one-time donation to the podcast PayPal account. Our handle is @Let'sTalkTrio. That handle again is @Let'sTalkTrio. I'd like to take a moment to thank our honorary members of the Let's Talk Trio podcast, Roderick Chambers, Tony Ho, Scott Kendall, and Susan Cramp. The Let's Talk Trio podcast team is John Russell, audio engineer, music producer and composer, and post-production editor. Amelia Castañeda, script supervisor, marketing manager, social media manager, and producer. Juan Rivas, executive producer and host. This episode was recorded Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. Remember to always exercise your right to vote. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode.